Hello, everybody. It's Laura Eisenhower. I am here today with this super rad person, Kendra Strand, who I have just been aware of for a number of years, just on Facebook, right? We have a lot of mutual friends. We have a lot of just, similar things that just kind of are in common, and like-mindedness on a spiritual galactic starseed level that has kind of woven our paths together in this way for this particular broadcast to be birthed. And I'm just so thrilled because I just love her energy, and I love her posts, and we just started to hang out recently, and thank you, Kendra, for being here. I'll read your bio in a second, but it's like super awesome to have you here.
Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on your channel home.
Oh yeah, totally. Really, really wonderful to have you. We're going to dive into all sorts of topics. And
yeah,
just like, so I'll tell you a little bit about her. Kendra Strand is an award-winning hairstylist and published photographer, formerly serving the entertainment and fashion industries. Her work has appeared on the red carpets of the Oscars and the Grammys, and across top media outlets such as Elle, Marie Claire, Cosmopolitan, Nylon, 𝗣𝗵𝗍𝗍, and NBC. With more than 15 years of experience as a senior creative and production artist, she's built an A-list client base that includes Paula Abdul, Marilyn Manson, Universal Music, and Interscope Records. In 2017, Kendra left Hollywood behind and is currently based in St. Petersburg, Florida, committed to her spiritual path, and is now working as an empath mentor, spiritual awareness, and awakening facilitator. Oh my goodness. I didn't even know your bio before you and I talked. You've been in the heart of, the industry. This is going to be wild. Okay. I don't even know where to begin. There are a lot of talking points that I know we wanted to make sure we would address. And I want to just kind of hand it over to you, though. Like, what is kind of like lighting up for you right now is like, boom, like, this is where I want to go first.
Well, again, hi, everyone. Thank you for having me on. It's been a really interesting last couple of years, not just for everybody on the globe, but for starseeds and, extrasensory, empaths, however you want to identify as. There's just been so much, energetic sort of warfare cast out at us. And I don't want to say that in like a disempowering sort of like victim way, but it genuinely has taken such a strength of, knowing that, all is well, that you're exactly where you need to be. And, you're doing everything you can to get from this moment to the next. And it's been challenging because anybody that's been speaking out on the different events that are happening in the world right now, and all, the global everything, we've all been, pulled off of platforms and shadow banned, and I know on my Instagram feed, last year there was 8 months where I couldn't go live. They wouldn't let me go live. And then as soon as I got my privileges back, all of my views were non-existent. It looks as though no one's seeing my stuff, but then sometimes I'll get more likes than I will views. So I think it's just it's like we get put into this weird algorithm where we're just it looks as though, I don't know, we're invisible, but it's just, I know it's all an illusion anyway. So it's just been okay, whatever. I'm not going to pay attention to the theatrics of it all. I'm just going to concentrate on my mission. But I know a lot of, people are really feeling it out there right now. A lot of people are feeling giving up, or what they do just doesn't matter. And maybe they should just stop, doing videos, or stop doing this because, what's it going to do? And my intention is to come out and, just hold space for anybody in this community that's kind of going through it and experiencing these kinds of things, and knowing that you know, this reality is such an illusion. Like, this physical reality is such an illusion, and a lot of it, you know, there's, no matter what's happening, there's always like an undercurrent of energy underneath it, even though it appears to be as though, you know, we're not reaching anyone or whatever. Like, your imprint matters. Like, your energy and how you're showing up every day for yourself is what matters. So don't give up. I just kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit.
So beautifully, but so tell us about just your life, these adventures in Hollywood, and just your transition from Hollywood to Florida, and what you experienced there, and what you, just take us on a journey here.
Okay, yeah, such a journey. So, I grew up. Should I just start from the beginning and just go in?
You take it wherever you want.
Okay. So, I grew up in a small town, Michigan, and I was, you know, I didn't know what any of this stuff was back then. Starseed, Empath, obviously, I was a child, but like, you know, I grew up as a very extra sensitive person, baby, whatever. Was always tuning into stuff, and, you know, I would tell my friends, like, you know, I'm not from here, and those aren't my parents. You know, I was really dialed into stuff. But as I started to get older, just society and programming in general of the environment I grew up in, and society, and just it basically beats you out of all of your skills. You know, it beats you out of all of your you know, we're trained to not feel anything, and we're trained, you know, that this physical reality is all there is, and everything else is just your imagination. So I kind of blocked out a lot of it, and I carried, so I was so sensitive to everything, and I didn't know it. It took me decades and decades of my life to realize that my vision was different than most people's. I thought everybody saw everything that I did. So it was really like invalidating, like basically
I can totally relate. Yes. Wow.
Yeah, it's everything in your external world, is so invalidating. And so it's just like you're constantly second guessing yourself. I was in a mental torturous prison of depression and anxiety, like a very large portion of my life. Probably literally up until 2016 when this huge awakening happened. But I'll start, I guess, from the beginning. I was into the arts, and I went to a boarding school called Interlochen Arts Academy, which is a performing arts boarding school. But I lived down the street from it. So some of the time I was boarding there, and some of the times I was a day student. And it was really intense. And this is kind of an interesting, like, side note, but this actually the school that Jeffrey, I'm going to spell it out in case, whatever, EPSTEIN, and Glenn, it was the school that they were grooming, you know, students from. I don't know if you heard about this, like in the news and everything, but literally, he was a donor. He went to camp there. He was a donor. I used to see him in the cafeteria, but he had a cabin there named after him. And so he would hang out on campus and like talk to high school campers and stuff like that. And then they would, because everybody from my school would go to like, you know, Juilliard and SUNY Purchase and, you know, all these like big art schools or whatever. And so there was something going on there. I mean, a lot going on there, but that was all in the media hype, whatever. When all that stuff was coming out, they had people that went to school there as witnesses because they were part of that whole, you know, I don't want to say too much because I don't know. It's like, you know what, you guys all know what I'm talking about if you're watching this channel.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
So anyway, I was incredible, even though I was at this school, I was incredibly depressed. I had so many, like, you know, victim programs, fear programs, like, and it's a really intense school. Everyone's like trying to outdo one another, and you're like pressured to be an adult before you're an adult. And so I was just trying my best to get by, and I got to a point where I was just like, fuck this planet, and I just want to like get out of here. So I collected about 500 pills from my grandparents' medicine cabinet and my parents. And one night I just took them all. So I was just like, yo, I'm done. I'm out of here. I literally had there was nothing holding me here. Like, I did not want to be here. I couldn't understand why anyone would want to live in a world that was so painful and where people were mean. And just like, my heart was broken. So it was like, whatever, just end it. So I tried that. It didn't work. So I woke up and I got extremely sick. And then I had to go back to school. No one really knew what had happened to me. So I carried the shame of like having it not work, no one knowing what was going on, and just feeling like the weight of the world, on my shoulders. So I gained a ton of weight. And I was already like really heavy. And then something interesting happened to me, which changed my life. And what I didn't know was kind of the beginning of what I call my like blueprint training. I went home from one of my classes to take a nap. I laid down on my bed, and I could hear my mom vacuuming in the hallway, and I was on my stomach, and I had my head turned to the right. And as soon as I laid down, I literally heard this voice in my head that said, John is here. John is going to hug you. And it was like this, it wasn't his voice. It wasn't anyone's voice. It was just like this audience voice. And I was like, what the fuck? Cause like I heard it. It was literally in my head. And then something plugged into the base of my spine. So it literally felt like, it was almost like Matrix-like in a sense, literally like plugged into the base of my spine. It like charged up, and my back started to, flex backwards. And then this energy shot all the way from the base of my spine, all the way up my spine, and like whooshed in my head. And I could hear all this like static and noise. And my body was sort of, thrown into this weird position. I was paralyzed, and my entire body was like shocked. I could hear my mom vacuuming still, but I couldn't talk. I was frozen. I didn't know what was happening to me. It felt like something was pinning me down, or something was like wrapped around me, holding me down. And then I passed out. And I woke up a few hours later. I told my mom what happened, and she like asked me if I had been, experimenting with drugs or whatever. And I was like, no. And ever since, so after that happened, paranormal experiences like really started to kick up. And I was, I had a lot of what I know now to be just astral experiences, leaving my body, going into other dimensions, having interactions with discarnate entities. It's just all kinds of weird stuff, but it wasn't fun. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to hang out with my friends, like another dimension. It was like all dark and like kind of scary stuff. So paranormal activity was kind of like the norm for me. But I never really talked about it with anybody. It was just like this closet. It was just something, it was just like a double life I lived that I never really spoke about. And I was, so I went on to college in Chicago. I studied fashion photography at Columbia. And then, my dream since I was little, I've always been, I grew up watching the Muppets, like wanted, my dream was to go out to Hollywood and work with stars and, just be part of that whole thing. And so that's what I did. Let's see, so I moved out to Hollywood. I had friends that were already working in the industry. So I moved out there, and I was out there for, I'm trying to remember if was it 6 years the first time? Cause I actually moved out there twice. So I moved out there for 6 years, and I got really lucky, and I was just put into different situations, like I worked on ad campaigns. I worked, I got to work with Paula Abdul, which was a trip because, it's Paula Abdul. It's like, whatever.
Oh, yeah, totally. Right.
Like I used to dance to her in my living room, and then like I was.
Oh my God, I remember when she came out. That was huge.
Yeah. I mean, this was like, you know, for me being, you know, feeling like an outcast my whole life, like not feeling like I belonged at all, and then finally getting to like seemingly what the pinnacle of success would be. It was just like, you know, a dream come true. But I have no idea how I got through that time, because my anxiety level and like self-doubt was so strong. I always had voices in my head just like, you're not good enough, you need to do this better, you know, just always just beating myself up. And like, you know, I had passion and this drive to, you know, make it big, but I also was like scared shitless. I was afraid everyone would think I was a fraud, just all the things, you know. I feel like a lot as humans, we look at one another and we think like everyone else has it together, you know, and everyone else is knows exactly what they're doing, and they like know some secret book of like knowledge that we don't know, and then we're just like, you know, I don't know, out in the dark, and you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
So,
It's so funny now. Also, I'm like, straight up, now tell me, do you really want to love me? Straight up, Kendra, keep going.
okay, so yeah, it was wild, and it was, you know, all of my dreams come true. Yet I was like walking in between worlds this whole time too, you know, and didn't really know what any of that stuff was. I wasn't in the spiritual community at all. You know, I cared more about like what 𝗏𝗏 was wearing at the MTV Awards than I did like, you know, anything else. I was more,
you mentioned like 𝗏𝗏 Paltrow. Oh, I'm sure you'll mention her too, but yeah, keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like I wanted to be whatever, you know. I wanted to be like cool and in the crowd, and you know, I gave my power away to, you know, everything I came into contact with, and had no boundaries and blah blah blah. So I ended up you know, I moved back to Michigan. I stopped working. Things got really intense. It started to get really hard for me to be in those situations. Like I actually turned down a few jobs because I had too much anxiety. So I started working with animals. I started working with dogs. And then at one of my jobs, I got punched in the face by my manager, which ended up sending me back home to Michigan, because it broke my orbital wall and like cut my cornea. I went through this. It was really, I couldn't drive. It was really bad. I couldn't see in one eye for like a while. And so I ended up going home to Michigan to sort of recuperate and like get myself back together from living in Hollywood and living out my dreams, so to speak. So I was at home in Michigan for about 3 years, and that's when I was pulled out to Hawaii. I basically sold all of my possessions and moved out to Hawaii. Just something, I got a job out there as a creative director, and I went out there to visit and just completely fell in love with the island. So I sold everything and moved out there. And that's when a lot of things got even more intense as far as like paranormal precognitive dreams. And because, you know, Hawaii is like a lava rock, or acts like a lava rock with everything there, and it sort of pulls all the residual energies. So Hawaii is like this breeding ground for, you know, spirits. And, you know, even if you don't associate with being tuned into that kind of thing, when you go to Hawaii, there's just like this energy there. It's very concentrated there. Really beautiful, amazing place. I love Hawaii so much. But I went there, and it was like something was calling me out there to heal. And so I just trusted it. And while I was out there, to continue on my backstory, so I always had like lower back problems, which I now know is like associated with support, you know, and feeling like lack of support and everything. I was still very depressed out there. You know, it's kind of hard to get going on the island, because it's the island, it's not the mainland. It's a whole different scene. So I was still very much like, I mean, paralyzing anxiety to the point where I wouldn't, you know, like I would go out one night, and then it would take me like a couple weeks to recuperate before I could like go out again or go like do anything really. And my back started thumping, and then my sciatic nerve pinched, and it debilitated me. I went to the doctor, and they gave me, muscle relaxers and allopathic, whatever. And just were like, oh, just rest. There's not really much you can do. You're basically screwed. And so I was debilitated for several months. My whole entire body had like literally, all of my skin was so tight that I had to get a couple massages, and it was like, it burned for her to like touch my skin because all of my skin was so tight. So once I got my skin loosened up, then I was able to go to a chiropractor, and he helped me to work my body back into shape. And so then I was like, okay, once I was like, God, please just, help me heal. If I heal, I promise I won't ever take my body for granted again. Cause I literally couldn't even carry like a grocery bag or whatever. So I was like really missing my life in Hollywood, and I didn't want to give up on my dreams. And I was like, I have to try again and, go back. So I signed up to go back to school to have sort of like advanced education with Tony and Guy. And so I went to the academy there and used it as a platform to sort of network my way back into the industry. And then I started working with, or doing like a lot of photo competitions and meeting a lot of the people within the company and whatnot, and started getting recognized for my work. And then I was in a salon, and I was not, at this time, I was going through the motions. I was training to be an educator for 𝗔𝗂𝗶𝗀𝗆 𝗔𝗂𝗋𝗆𝗃𝗀. I was working at, I got a job working at like one of the top 5 salons in Hollywood that, we had, like Lana Del Rey and everybody went there. It was like everyone in the music industry, Kylie Minogue, just a bunch, just like everybody. And I was killing myself trying to fit into this, like, okay, well, this is what I think I'm supposed to do because I know how to do hair and I need to like make a living and whatever. I'm trying to squeeze into this like human mold, even though it like never felt right to me. Like everything I ever did, I was always like forcing myself to do, and it always felt really uncomfortable, but I did it anyway. And so I was trying to survive. I was always in fight or flight, always. And I started, my sensitivity started to heighten up, if that was even possible. And then I started to get really like lost, where it was like I lost myself. I was like, why am I even bothering? Like, why do I keep showing up as like a nice person and doing all these things? I constantly get like fucked with, I constantly get like knocked down or whatever. And I just was just really beating my head up against a wall. And and then my cat died. And that's when everything like, it's all dramatic. My cat died. But they're like,
that's one of some of the most devastating and traumatized, like heartbreaking things in my life. When I lost some of my cats. I get you. Keep going. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not married. I don't have kids. And even if you do, it's like still, and so they're literally like my everything. So my partner. Totally. So he was 20 and he died. And literally when that happened, this was in 2016, the energy in my apartment started to change. And I was tuning into stuff and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I was so depressed and just literally, I had my other cat 𝗵𝘆𝗍𝗍 at the time, but I was just like, why am I here? Like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, what do you guys want from me? Like, what the fuck? Why am I here? This place, it sucks. I hate it here. It's so painful. Like, nothing's normal. It's just like whack. Like, what's going on? So I went to bed, clinching on to like these rose quartz crystals, like crying. And then I woke up, and I had just had, like, right before I woke up, I had this very like sort of clear astral situation happening where I heard this, there was like an entity attached to my left side, And I woke up casting it out, like saying like, you are not welcome here anymore. You are not welcome here anymore. Like I literally woke up like saying it over and over again. And I was like, holy shit, like what the fuck? And then just weird shit was happening. Like I was like leaving my body a lot. Like everything got really lit up for me. Just like I was just floating out of my body and, you know, visiting my cat and my other old cat that had died. And then I went through, then this experience changed. I might even like tear up because every time I do it, like it hits me hard. I went through this experience where I left my body and one of my guides took me to this Stargate that was, it's like, all I can explain is like, it was like this swirling, it's like you're in space, right? And it's like this swirling web of like liquid almost. And I went up it, but when I went up it or went into it, but I was going up, it was like everything just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I had all this recollection, like, oh, I'm back into this. This is my home Stargate, or like I've been here like a million times. And there were all these hieroglyphics, like these plates of like hieroglyphics, like not English, but you know, it was all this like language embedded into like stones, like so. And it was weird, right? Because you're in a portal. So I'm up in space, and I know this sounds crazy, but this is just what happened. And this is just as visceral as this reality is here. Like when you go on astral travel, or you leave your body, it's not as visceral in the sense of 3D where you can like touch stuff and like it's dense here and you can knock stuff over. It's more, to me, it's more like translucent and hologrammy. But this was as visceral as it has ever been for me ever in my life, because my soul wanted me to make sure that I knew this was like an imprinted situation that I would never forget and like have in my, you know, memory forever. And I just knew that I was waiting. There was an important meeting, and I'm up there just kind of hanging out, and these huge, massive whales came down, and they were outlined in this like, they were outlines of whales, but they were whales, but they had an outline of this bright white platinum, like the sparkliest, you can't even put it into words because it's not from this reality, but it was the most beautiful, like amazing, just like, I mean, literally my jaw dropped open and I was just like looking up at these beings in front of me, like, holy fucking shit. You know, like these big, massive whales are just like floating in front of me, and they started speaking to me in frequency, and I'm just like, you know what, holy, like, just, so I'm sitting there and they said, you know, I'm hearing all this frequency, and then I went back to my body, and as soon as I came to, I started bawling, and I was just like, I know where, like, I knew why I was here. I know where you know, where I was from, like what they were saying. It wasn't like they were talking to me in English. It was all frequency, but it was downloaded into me. And so it was like this experience of emotional Akashic records, everything, you know, I knew everything. I got lit up, and I was guided to reach out to this woman. She told me about network, and this is what I wanted to talk about today too. It's called Network Spinal Analysis. I had no idea what it was, but I was literally just guided to reach out to this woman I know. She was another hairdresser, and we were talking about meditation. She's like, have you ever heard of network? And oh, I forgot too, like this night, the night before I spoke to this woman, I had woke up with this doctor's name that I had a dream about, Dr. Ruth. And so when I talked to her, she's like,
oh wait, not the Dr. Ruth Restheimer?
No.
Okay, keep going. Sorry.
that's why I was like, what the fuck? Like, why am I dreaming about like Dr. Ruth, the sex doctor? Because I had no reason to be dreaming about Dr. Ruth, you know? It was really random. But then after I talked to my friend, and she was like, oh, my friend Ruth is a doc, she's a chiropractor and she does network spinal analysis. She's like, she sent me a link. She's like, you should check it out. It's kind of intense. So I checked it out, and it was like, I knew I had to go because I had a dream about it. So I went, and it's this modality that I didn't know anything about, but I just trusted it. And basically what it is chiropractors that are trained in this modality, and they're different practitioners. You know, you can find one in your area. You just look up network spinal analysis, look up a practitioner. They have different levels. And what they do is they touch different parts of your nervous system, and it helps to open up gateways within your nervous system to help regulate your chemicals, but it's reorganizational health of the spine. So literally, I mean, this modality, I'll go into it like later, but it literally can heal so many different things. But at the time I had no idea what it was. So I just like laid up, I told her what was going on with me, you know, that I was like leaving my body and stuff. And she's like, oh, well, she knew exactly what was going on with me. And I told her what happened when I was young, like with my brother, John, and everything. And because I knew I had to. And so I had 2 sessions with her. And then I went, it was like after like 1 week, I went home, and I literally woke up one morning, and everything, I was completely changed. Like my hearing changed, my vision changed, my taste changed, my hearing was totally different. Like literally the frequency completely shifted in my ears, and my body started like rewiring. And the only way I can explain it kind of is like if you had Christmas lights wrapped around your body, and then they all like started, you know, turning on and like flickering and whatnot. That's what it felt like. And so my entire body rewired, and I was having these extraordinary, like, well, this one specific one where I like left my body, but it was more of like a Holy Spirit, like near-death experience encounter. So I was engulfed in this like golden egg of light and bliss and, you know, divine pure source energy. I know this sounds so like corny and just like, you know, woo.
Oh, corny. That's hilarious. Okay, keep going.
Straight up. I mean, it was like, I literally saw this like white light, like flash in a spiral. And I mean, I thought I was dying, like no joke. I literally thought I was dying because of what I was hearing and seeing and believing, and not believing, feeling and just witnessing. It's like what you witness when you die. And I was so happy. Like I was in this glowing energy of pure love. It was pure love. And then from that moment on, for months, I was like, this is what a Kundalini awakening is like, which is what I was going to say. After doing research, because I didn't know what this was. Luckily, my doctor was really, really awesome. She had been through one too, so she knew what I was talking about. Like I would call her freaking out. Just, but basically, before in Hawaii, when my energy froze like that, you know, it was trying to raise again, but my body wasn't in alignment and the channels weren't open. So she just opened a few channels, and then it rewired. And so I was like, you know, I basically, it was like a floodgate of knowledge came in every day. It was just like books were falling on my head of like all this information, my guides telling me all this stuff, how to do this, how to do that, what to do. And it was trippy. It was, for months, it was like everything that happened in my external reality. Like, first of all, I was, you know, I could see, it was like, I could see everything. I could see through everything. I could see everyone's like suffering, tune into what was going on with them. I saw the Matrix like in full effect. it's like what you see in the movies, you know, when you like put the glasses on and take them off or whatever. And all kinds of weird shit happened. I could probably write a book, to be honest, but
and you should, and you will. Yeah.
So it changed my life forever, because I thought I was going to die too, because I didn't know that it was possible to be on this earth plane and be this happy. Like because I had never experienced it before, because everything was always so hard. And I finally had found this like, this energy, this life force energy inside of me that like just got activated. And I was like, oh my God, I'm on planet Earth and I'm alive. And like, this is so cool. And like, I can't wait to go out and get all these messages and like see signs and stuff. And I even went to, when I was tripping balls, like I was nominated for a few awards for the Behind the Chair Awards in Florida. So I flew out there during this time, which I can't even believe I did, because I was really like, I mean, thank God I had like so many angels sort of watching my back, but I was really, I mean, I was grounded enough to do it, but I was still very just like, you know, kind of out. Like I would talk to like animals and they would come and like a bird would come and like perch next to me. Like I was Snow White, you know what I mean? Crazy stuff was happening. And good little story, just because it's your channel and why not. When I was on the plane to go to the awards, I was sitting in my seat and I was just like, oh, this is so amazing. I'm going to Florida, blah, blah, blah. And this guy, this tripped me out. This guy was standing, he was putting his bag away, and I just saw his profile, but I was like, he's dark. Like I sensed not a good energy, and that's all like the information I got. And he turned to me and he like literally shapeshifted right in front of me. His eyes, I mean, when I say I was tripping, I was like very, aware and like functioning and like, being a normal human, but I was just like, oh my God, this is so amazing. This is my life. But like literally this guy's eyes shifted black and like went like this. Right when he looked at me, it was like 3 seconds maybe. And then like he went back to like normal. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, holy fucking shit. It was just like this shapeshifter, like there was obviously like an energy there. But so I was like, oh my God, okay, cool. So totally have aliens here, like walking among us. Cool. All right, I'm just gonna go to the hair awards and do this. So I'm like still very much in like my old life and like, had no idea what was happening to me. And yeah, so I, after like a few months, I started sort of like integrating a little bit more and trying to figure out what my next moves were. And I was still very much trying to participate in my old path, or, like I went to London and met with TG there, and I really wanted to move to London and work out there. And just what was going on with me spiritually wouldn't let up. And it was so intense, and I couldn't show up the same way I used to. I couldn't even pretend to enjoy the things that I used to. And things just were so intense for me energetically. Like I already was really sensitive, and then I turned into like powder or something overnight. You know what I mean? It was just like,
oh, you put it so well. Yeah, I do. I know what you mean.
Just like, it was like, I couldn't be, to do to talk with someone like you, or even do a video and put it out online, was like not something I could even fathom, because the energy was so intense with everything. So I went through a lot of discovery phases. I did 𝗂𝗋𝗄𝗋, quantum healing hypnosis technique, and figured out a lot through that, and just really got locked in with a lot of I just spent time with myself, and then ended up moving to Florida. I moved to Vegas after LA. I was in Vegas for like a year, a little over a year, to kind of buffer off of LA and get away from LA, but still have the access to go work if I needed to. And then I moved down to Florida, and I've been doing, I've been working with starseeds and, you know, sensitive souls, empaths, just who are on an awakening journey or going through whatever kind of human stuff we go through. Because often it just takes, you know, someone that has a different perspective or is able to like reflect something back that you aren't seeing, because we get so stuck in our grooves, our, you know, like our stories and like our song that we love to sing, and we can't like hear anything else about like what's going on. So yeah, I just basically work as a, you know, empowerment reflector and help, you know, former versions of myself. You know, I literally spent decades of my life, like until I started doing, like really turning inward and doing the work. It started in Hawaii, but it didn't really become full circle until I started doing network, and network really changed my life, because it literally, like if you look at the studies and, you know, from a doctor's point of view and all that, they have all these studies of how it connects all of your brains together, because we get dropped into these bodies and we're all automatically in like fight or flight and like trying to survive. And then this connects them all so that you go into more of a safe place, where you are safe, you know, and you're in tune with your breath and your body. And so you don't go into a reactive state. And I do think it's good to have reactions. We need reactions in this world. But as you know, there's a lot of manipulative energies out there, and too many people fall prey to the, you know, the reactive emotional, you know, before thinking or really processing what's going on in your present moment and what is happening, whether it's on TV or social media or, you know, the person in front of you. It's like, you know, you automatically loop into this program and you get reactive. And I know that program very well, because I was that way for a long ass time. So, but it's not like I'm perfect now either. You know what I mean? I'm always challenging myself, and I'm just bringing as much awareness as I possibly can in every day and every moment to like better myself. But I'm way better, way much better than I was before. You know, I literally I could not human. It was not like, I mean, I tried to leave, you know, it was, I wasn't having it down here. But yeah, so, and it's like a big long story.
A big long amazing story, my goodness. So I just want to touch upon the fact that, like, you mentioned Marilyn Manson, like, you know, that sort of dark energy. Like, we all know about like underworld, sort of like deep, sort of the really deeper and darker stuff of it all. And there's like being an expressive artist and reflecting that darkness. And then there's that true darkness that exists in these kind of industries. What was your experience with Marilyn Manson? I'm so curious.
So I did a photo shoot with Enemy magazine, and I had actually, I had friends who were friends with him before this, but this was completely disconnected. So I had already been, because when you live in Hollywood and you're going through all that, whatever, like everybody kind of runs in different circles, and, you know, you're always going to different parties and celebrities are there and stuff. So I had seen him before, but I'd never talked to him. And he was actually really nice. I have no idea how I pulled my ass together and went there, because I remember just freaking out, because I was hired as hair and makeup, and I was just like, oh my God, what if I don't have enough stuff? And I had like so much makeup, you know, but like, so I had just like whip everything up kind of like quickly. And it was really awesome. He was actually really cool and chill. You know, I think he was married to Dita at the time she was there. And he showed me like his, he had just directed a video for I don't know, was it Personal Jesus that he remade or something like that?
For Depeche Mode.
Yeah, some video he just did, and he was asking me what I thought about.
But the Evan Rachel Wood part of it is in there somewhere too, right?
Oh, weird. See, I was just like, not even like there in my head. I'm just like, be cool, don't be weird, I'm like, yeah, it's great. Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's just like, yeah, it's cool. And I helped him with his lashes. He actually does a lot of his own makeup, and he's very like private. So I was more I had all my stuff, and I would help him when he needed to. And we did the shoot. And ironically, it's the one in Enemy magazine where he was doing like the burning the American flag. It's funny now, right? The climate we're in, and like mocking like at a podium, like he's running for president or something. But it was a really big like sort of notch in my like career belt or whatever. And I had a pleasant experience. Like honestly, it was a really pleasant gig, and I was expecting it to be like a little bit intimidated, but it was fine. It was cool. He was nice. But I mean, as we know, I know there's a lot of stuff coming out. Well, everything's coming out at some point, but yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, one of the things you've shared with me is like, despite all the suffering we have experienced being starseeds and targets for attacks and trying to squeeze into a confined version of ourselves to fit into society. I'm sorry, my throat chakra is just like almost a little bit toasty right now, but it's all a divine plan that can be beautifully transmuted when the soul commands and demands and takes ownership in healing. The nervous system is the key to emotional integration too. Enter network spinal analysis. So, it's like it's all woven into all of what you're talking about, like, and the healing modalities. All your experiences are just like, the fulcrum of like, this greater alchemical transformational like experience that we're all like experiencing together. Where do you see some of these corridors and dark areas that you've experienced within yourself and in the industry? Where do you see it like going? Like, what do you feel like? I mean, if that wasn't really a question, but
you mean as far as what I used to do in the industry?
Well, just maybe it's all this like shifting because you shifted yourself, right? You were exposed to it all.
Right.
And you're a rising kind of starseed, like with a completely different mission than the one that you set out to experience, like your dream, like, the Hollywood dream.
I'm kind of open. I don't have any attachments to any of it. I still love very many aspects of the beauty industry and the sense of, but I like being more of a creative director where I'm dictating and telling other people what to do, not wanting to do like, because when I do the photo shoots and do the hair and the makeup and the photography and I'm shooting people, it's so much work by myself. Obviously it's much better when you have like a huge team and you're doing it for, because I would do jobs in the industry, but then I also did a lot of my own photo shoots where I would basically take on everything, and I did everything all by myself. But I wouldn't mind going back to it if it was in a way where it's on my terms, because that former self of me was, afraid to, ask for what I was worth. There's a lot of that sort of stigma in Hollywood where you do certain things for like less money because it's with a celebrity, or you do stuff for free so you can get your name and this and that and whatever. And so they really prey on and really, sort of eat up and spit out, amazing artists. And probably break a lot of dreams in the process. And it takes a lot of, you know, just because I've seen people that are at the top of, you know, the industry that I've done, and they've taken credit for other people's work. You know, they'll post, like one of my friends that I used to work with, like did color on a bunch of wigs for Kim Kardashian, and then her hairstylist like posted it like it was his work. And I'm just, that's just how it is in Hollywood. So as far as the industry goes and who I am now, I've been holding space, and this might be a bubble dream, I don't know, but I've been holding space for a completely new paradigm of entertainment. I mean, we're already creating it. You know, we've got people on YouTube and, you know, doing their own thing, and just, you know, and we've seen independent artists or musicians, whatever, start to create music and then get a following, and they just blow up on their own because genuinely people like them and they're not necessarily signed by a huge label. And that whole paradigm, I think, is really, obviously it's really like dying off, but it's like the magic spell that we were all under of like, oh, wow, it's Madonna. And I mean, I still love Madonna, but like the whole spell of it all, we're all just like, nobody cares anymore.
The spell of it all. Yeah. Gosh.
You know, the big haze we were under, 'cause I was under it too, man, like fully, you know, and I would still love to work with some of these people because I still adore them, but who knows? I mean, I also think a lot of these people are going to need a lot of facilitators and heart-centered individuals to hold space for them, to, because they're just
absolutely human. Boom, right there. And that's the healing work you're doing. So that's the bridge that you've created. That's immense.
Yeah. So, you know, I've been taking it day to day, and I know that I have a very different view and scope of how energy works and how the world works and how you attract things to you and whatever. And I've seen miracles happen in front of my face a million times. So I'm just trying to witness it all without judgment, and just see where it all goes. I would have a hard time believing I would spend that much time of my life and then never do it again. Because I would do it on my own. Like, you know, I would find a model and be like, oh my God, we have to dye your hair blonde, and then put like a chunk of, you know, red right here, and then your makeup needs to be this, and you got to be shot on a mountain, you know, like whatever. Like I love that kind of stuff, but I want to do it in a different in a different paradigm,
more spiritually integrated, right?
Yeah.
So do you feel that some of these individuals that are like really, you know, have been in the spotlight, you know, Marilyn Manson, Paula Abdul, you know, Kylie Minogue, you know, all these folks, do you feel that they're feeling the shift and they're going through a spiritual awakening, that to the point that they're going to kind of join you in what this could become?
What a question. It's hard to say. I feel like Hollywood, I feel like there are some people that will wake up, but it's also like, I don't know if everyone's necessarily signed up for it in this lifetime. And
that's the most brilliant like response just right there, but keep going. Yeah, exactly. Right.
You know, like, I think a lot of people, like what I was going to talk about earlier too, was that like everything that's happened over the past couple years, like, yeah, we've been going through a paradigm shift, but all the photonic light that's been, you know, we've been pummeled with it over the last couple of years with solar flares and coronal mass ejections. And it's literally plowing our it's changing our molecular structure and shifting our DNA. And, you know, we're going from carbon to crystalline. And so the way this has shown up on like a human level for me, and how I've witnessed it in other people too, is like, it's literally just brought this huge mirror up in front of everyone, and they have to look at themselves, and they can't really get away with the same tricks anymore. You can't really get away with the same old stories. You can't play the same games out because your soul won't allow you to. And don't get me wrong, there are some people that are taking the mirror and, you know, turning it around and putting it down and running the other way, or they're, you know, using substances to escape, or whatever kind of, however you want to look at substances, that could mean, you know, being on the phone all the time or watching TV all the time, or, you know, just completely distracting themselves. And so, no, I don't think that everybody will, you know, not everyone signed up for it in this lifetime. We all came in with like if you are going to quote unquote wake up, which I think is kind of a delusion in itself too, because it's like, you're like, there's no way to be like awakened and enlightened fully. Like, you're always doing it every day in some sort of way or another. And no one person is better than the next. But even if, like, if you are scheduled to be activated in this lifetime, you will be, and your soul will never put you through things before you're ready to see them or experience them. And I think a lot of people who have been, you know, sort of using coping mechanisms or not really dealing, because the only way to exit the matrix and to exit, you know, which is ourselves, it's our emotional matrix that we grew up in, how we were in our families and society. It's not like an actual matrix that you leave. It's like your own matrix of emotions. The only way to get out of that is to feel through it all. And not everyone wants to do that. Not everyone has been capable of doing that. But I do see, I mean, obviously I feel like, I think we talked about this on Facebook once. I feel like there's going to be a huge tsunami at some point of like something happening in the external reality for everyone, where there's like a huge wave of people awakening. I mean, obviously that's happening. We see that now, but I mean like really big, like really, really, really big, where, because right now we have the Starseeds and the Empaths and Lightworkers, whatever, they've got their websites and they're doing this and that, and we're getting pulled off of platforms, derailed, like, you know, just hit from every angle possible. At some point, there's an inversion of it where we, you know, there's so much light there that it rises up, and there will be so much need for assistance, you know, and facilitators and guidance, because you know, what we're going through is unprecedented, and we really need to be there for each other. And we need more, you know, we need more of you guys online. You know, we need more speaking out and just, or, you know, making videos, or just whatever your unique talent is, whatever your soul is like calling you to do that may not make sense, but really just lights you up, do it, you know, because whatever it is that you're doing, it's not going to be like anyone else's path. Like, I don't care how many videos you've watched, or how many books you've read, or conventions you've gone to. You can follow all the like spiritual, you know, the law of attraction and like all that bullshit, just, you know, all the like things that we are taught as like being a spiritual person or whatever. It's going to be different for everybody. And so don't shut yourself, you know, for like whatever pathway you're doing, or it doesn't look like that person, or how come this person got to this place. It's all an illusion too. A lot of people really do not show their, yeah, that's what I want to say too. I like adore you for, and just appreciate so much of you for being so transparent and so authentic. You're like just such a beacon and sort of light in this community that I've been like just really appreciating for a long time. Of just, I mean, you know, you are you, and that's it. Like, take it or leave it. And there's just a lot of, you know, lollipop woo woo, you know, where you can just see right through it. And that stuff is not sustainable, and it's not going to last. And I see a lot of that stuff crashing too, you know, because we need people that are talking about real stuff that's happening right now in the world. And how are you feeling every day? And it's okay to not be okay every day, you know?
Oh man, you pierce my heart and soul in the most amazing ways. So because you've been able to open yourself up to, like, you know, the dark underbelly of like the industry, what are your thoughts about like the whole you know, SRA, like, you know what I'm talking about, like the darker like sort of aspects of it, like pedophilia, child trafficking, like how that is in the mix? And I know you know about it, and that might have been a part of like, you know, the shift in like your direction in life. did anybody else notice it, or did you ever have conversations with some of your fellow colleagues? Or, I mean, like, are they just like, oh, we don't know how to deal with it, we're just going to keep doing what we do, even though it's there? You know, when people start to put certain celebrities in the mix of Illuminati kind of stuff and all that kind of, you know?
Yeah, I think, let me say, it's hard to say too much. So I want to be careful, but like, it's like, when I was out there in the middle of it, no, I didn't know shit. And then towards the end, I mean, just in general, I was just kind of like, what the fuck, you know, just like things, it just started getting really dark. I mean, not that it already wasn't, but it was much more obvious. That's why I left LA. Like I had to just like get out. It was like gabber music, like the energy there was just like, and but like I have friends that have worked with big stars and have witnessed a lot of weird shit backstage, having to do with different altars. Some of them are more public than others. Like these are people that are in the public eye that you know you can watch on Instagram, and to me it's pretty obvious who they are. And I have heard of just I had a friend who was who did work for a lot of people, and the whole, I don't know if I can say it, but the 𝗫𝗫𝗁𝗔𝗃𝗃, you know, the stuff that they like to drink and stay youthful or whatnot, that was
Adrenochrome.
Yeah, yes, that was mentioned in a few conversations, you know, from one of like the stylists of like major, you know, musicians. It's so twisted. What else was I going to say? I like when you were saying this, I was getting all this like, because it's hard to talk about because, oh, that's what I was going to say. I feel like, and I'm guilty of this too, once you recognize what's going on there and you see behind all the like sort of illusionary and like bullshit and propaganda and certain players that are pushing certain narratives, and you just look at them and you're like, oh, you're part of the Illuminati, no. But I think that it's also, we're going to be surprised because I think that some of them might know that something's going on, but they don't necessarily know exactly what. But it's like they've somehow compartmentalized whatever their trauma is. So they've just been, you know, barn doors, horse blinders. You know what I'm talking about? Like they've just been like, whatever, my mission, you know, I'm an actor.
Right. Yeah, like living the dream. It's like, what is all this other stuff? It's like, is it really this like deep and like nasty?
Yeah, and like, you know, we've seen you know, people that I love and adore at some of these parties, you know, with like Marina Abramovich, and when I look at it, I'm like, I definitely know some, you know, some of them have been through some intense and participate in some messed up rituals, and they're aware of it. But I think that some of them, I think a lot of them are, some of them have true talent and they are afraid to speak out. So a lot of people like scream like, how come so-and-so doesn't, how come we don't have any celebrities speaking up or speaking out? But if you had like 3 kids and you were famous as fuck, you know, and you knew that there was some, you know, you've witnessed people like getting, you know, knocked out of the picture, meaning like killed left and right, and you know there's some shady stuff going on, you're probably not going to want to put your family in harm's way or risk anything. So I think it boils down to, and I think that there's some people that we might think are bad that not necessarily are, and then we might think that like there's going to be a lot of switch hitting. I feel like there's going to be some people that we think are good or like not anywhere near that, and they're like some of the most evil ones, you know. I think it's a smorgasbord of everything. I do know, like what?
No, but right, yeah, totally a smorgasbord. It's like, you know, it's a mixed bag. Absolutely. Keep going though. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, I after leaving Hollywood, it's like I had a friend that was out there, and he was more into the like you know, the LGBTQ community or whatever, like kind of ran in that crowd, and he started witnessing a lot of weird stuff. Like he would go weird stuff. Like he would go to a big mansion, and he said that, and I know this, like a lot of people pass this off as being like, oh, he probably had his like grandson living there or something, but he would go into closets, and he was like, I don't know, trying on clothes or something, and he would notice like weird child toys and like places that they shouldn't be, just like weird stuff, like and he's empathic too, you know, and he was like, something's not right about this kind of stuff. Like you would just, it's so dirty there. There's so much going on in so many rings that has been in plain sight for all of time. It's just that no one, you know, you can only meet the world as much as you've met yourself. You know, if you haven't faced the darkest in yourself.
I want to capture so many of the things you're saying. Is like, this is what you just said. It's just like a quote that stands the test of time. That's brilliant. Keep going. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. It's not my quote. I don't know who said it, but it's true. It's so true. Cause yeah, there's just a lot of, I mean, even, but it's all coming out now. Have you seen the Playboy Secrets on A&E?
No, I
Oh my gosh. I just found out about it, and I watched like I watched like 5 or I couldn't stop. I watched like all the episodes, and it's insane. It's insane. It's like everybody that wanted to come out, who didn't come out when he was alive, came out, and they're just like, everyone's
who
just like,
who was alive or not alive?
Hugh Hefner.
Oh yeah. Okay, so yeah, keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was like that place, and just what went on there was beyond what anyone could possibly fathom. And the things that it's like a boys club, you know, they get away with whatever. And there's a rule in Hollywood that I know, you know, people that have worked as assistants for large celebrities, and it's like a don't talk rule, you know, it's like hush hush, don't talk. And so, and like I said, it depends on, you know, when you're in that frame of mind and you're just trying to do your job. And I think there will be a lot of, you know, people getting their lights flicked on and popcorn popping all over of people in different places and different industries, and that play different parts in people's lives and different roles, that will come forward with information to do what's right and to shed light on things that have been in the dark for so long, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Beyond makes sense. I mean, you couldn't have put it better. I mean,
yeah, because it's like when you're in that vibration, because I've been in it before too, where it's just like you basically get abused, and you watch people get abused, and you don't talk about it, and you don't say anything, and it's such a form of gaslighting, where they do it right in front of your face, and then they tell you they didn't do it right in front of your face, and then you just sit there and question yourself, you know, and you completely fragment out into, am I crazy? And that's, you know, it's why a lot of victims don't come forward, because whatever they went through, and just people in general don't come forward, because there's so much gaslighting, and it's a very masterful technique, especially when it's like a covert narcissist who is genuinely a kind person and nice, and does like a lot of, you know, who love bombs you, and you really have to be under a certain frequency to recognize that. And and it takes a lot of courage to sort of walk through that and face it and confront it and actually do something about it. And it takes, you know, regulation of the nervous system too, because when you go through stuff like that, when you're confronting an abuser or confronting a situation or shedding light on something, you have to be really strong to handle that, because you just get attacked left and right. You know, you have to be like, it's like a soul calling. So I do think that, you know, kind of like we've seen newscasters. I think there's a guy working for Project Veritas that used to work for, I don't know, CBS or CNN or something. And he came forward and now he works for them and he's doing, you know, work with them and came out of that whole industry. So I think we're going to see more and more people sort of, like I said, popping up like popcorn in different industries. Because it's just like, you can't, we were operating in such a dense frequency before, and it was still like murky and muddy. So the shadow and all the shadow players could get away with all the stuff that they do very easily. And now there's so much light here that it's like, you know, it's like someone that steals someone that steals something at like a candy shop, and they're like running out the door and, you know, they're fussing, you know, and it falls out of their pocket. That's kind of, you know what I mean? It's just like, they're like messy vampires now, like running around, like
messy vampires now.
You know,
that's so funny. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I think, I mean, it's, what a ride. Who knew we grew up in such a, you know, inverted everything.
Yeah. And you're like one of the most powerful forces to turn it all around. And that's why I love you so much and appreciate. Oh my goodness. That's incredible. So the work you're doing now, you know, as a, you know, and I just want to say the full like picture of what you're doing now. And I'm just trying to find it here. Well, I'll just hand it over to you because I have a lot of tabs open.
Oh, that's okay.
Your new role now. Let's illuminate this, because this is such a huge breakthrough for humanity, what you're doing. So take us into like the person you are today and what you're offering and like assisting people with.
Yes. So I have a website. Should I just go into all that too? My website is kendrastrand.com.
Well, I'll put it all in the description, but
yeah.
So no worries about that. So yeah. So after you plug those things, yeah, just take us into that rebirth. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as someone who has been through like decades and decades, like what I like to call, you know, a blueprint training of, you know, being, because chances are if you've been through this life, like if you identify as like a starseed, empath, you know, extrasensory being, or even if you don't and you're just a human, because I truly do believe that all humans are empaths, whether or not you tune into it in this life or how tuned into it you are is a question. Not everyone will be as sensitive as others, but it's not like one of us has more skills than the next. It's just if we decided to tune into it and take that path in this lifetime. So my job is to activate, you know, as many people as I can and to help empower and reflect back to you, like what your life has, like everybody has a blueprint laid out as a soul when they agree to come down here to be of service. And being of service doesn't mean sacrificing yourself either. You can be of service and be completely like in your own, you know, you can be of service and be like a wonderful mom to your child and be, you know, doing your thing at home or whatever. It doesn't mean that you have to be like out doing videos and, you know.
I heard that so many times, right? Oh my God, I love, oh man, you're just killing it. Keep going.
I love you.
I love you too.
But you don't have to be like out at conventions and like, you know, announcing to the world that you're a starseed, because I know it can be really intimidating and like, because you know, you got to go through all those daggers of like, what are my friends going to think and what is my family going to think, and everyone's going to think I'm nuts and like whatever. So you can be a closet starseed, or maybe not even a starseed, just like a human trying to figure it out.
Closet starseed, I love it.
So like,
yeah,
basically that's what I do. You know, it's kind of hard to explain what I do, because when people start talking to me and they tell me kind of what's going on with them or what they're trying to work on, what kind of struggle they're experiencing, I kind of tune in to like what they're looping on, or kind of like what is the real emotion behind it, like what the energy current is underneath it. Because oftentimes we tell certain stories that really don't have anything to do with what's really going on underneath the surface. And a lot of times we just need someone to like hold up a mirror and be like, yo, you know, you're better than this. You know, you're good enough, you're strong enough, people like you. But, you know, just like 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 or whatever. But you know what I'm saying? Positive affirmations.
𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏, that's hilarious. Oh yeah. God.
Yeah. Positive affirmations and but also, you know, I don't sugarcoat stuff either, you know, like in order to work on yourself and get to the next level in your life or change things that are going on in your external reality, you really have to be okay with knowing that you have shown, you know, like sometimes we show up in a certain way that has perpetuated a certain, it's just taking accountability for yourself and how you've shown up. You know, I had to face a lot, like I talk a lot about how I struggled a lot and I had depression and anxiety, and I talk about starseeds, you know, feeling attacked and having that, and it's true, we're a target because your light is not wanted here. And you are like a moth to a flame, you know, you'll have all these attacks coming at you left and right that will try to crush you. That is no joke. But also we have to take accountability for how we're showing up on the other end, because often we run it right into that circus and we're like, hey, you know, and we're playing with all of these characters that we really shouldn't be playing with. But because we haven't healed those aspects within ourselves, we can't recognize it in other people. So a lot of times it's pulling inward and pulling away from your group and, you know, how you've been showing up, overextending yourself, being too nice, doing too much, and pulling back and really spending time with yourself and being like, am I doing this because I'm expected to and I'm people pleasing, or am I doing this because I love it and this is my passion and this is what fuels me? Because we've, like I said, yes, we have been attacked energetically and been put through initiations of sorts to have a blueprint so that we can be of service to people later in life. But also we have shown up in certain ways and we have to, I mean, it takes a lot of work to, you know, show up for yourself every day and pull yourself out of that vibration where you're not beating yourself up for every little thing that you did, you know, because you should have done it better or you should have known better or, you know, you slipped up or whatever. It's just like, it's not making anything ever right or wrong in every moment, and just having enough strength to go through every day and just show up as a human and not judging your experience. It's like the killer of all human things is judging, you know, and that's how we like sort of block ourselves from moving forward, you know, it's because we judge our experience. And it's literally, I mean, Earth is an anagram for heart. And when we come down here, we're so wide open, society closes it. We go through all these, you know, challenges or whatever. And it's all about coming back into that integration of, you know, reopening your heart and opening your heart to what is, and seeing that, you know, not everyone's perfect and none of us really know what we're doing. We're just trying to figure it out, you know? So it just takes, you know, showing up and making moves, even if it's just like one a day.
Oh man, this is like one of my favorite interviews I've ever done in my life. You are just the bomb. I'm just like, whoa! I knew this was going to be extraordinary. Kendra, man.
So, thank you. Thank you so much for having me and sharing the space with me. I was really excited to do this. A little bit nervous, but like so excited.
I'm always nervous. Yeah, and everything you shared was just like boom, boom, boom. Yeah, like I've done a lot of videos and done a lot of stuff, but every time is like the first time sometimes, and it's just like the anxiety or all the things. I mean, you just so brilliantly, like, you know, like express anything you want to share that we didn't share. before we close?
I don't think so. I shared a lot. Is there anything else? Oh, I mean, I guess it's the root. I'm gonna like go on some like, okay, so the one thing that makes us suffer the most is separation. And I could say up until 2016, you know, when I kind of, my soul cried out, you know, and I demanded that things change. And it was just my time at the time, you know, that's when I took the journey back into remembering connection, you know, to all that is, to the divine. Because the only reason why any of us ever suffer, it's often self-inflicted, and it's because we feel separate from things. Like you think that everything's like attacking you, you know, in your reality. You think that everything's, you know, that literally
get you and just, yeah.
That your reality is attacking you, you know, and that things are out to get you. And sometimes we make up stuff, and that's okay, you know, because we've been through a lot of trauma. But it's also to, you know, remember that a lot of it is redirecting, you know, rejection is protection. And a lot of it is redirecting us into a different space. And even, you know, we're all teachers and students, and even the bad guys, like even all the bad guys that are out on the world stage and like all the whatever, they need the most love of all, and healing. And some of them might not be, you know, able to accept that and receive it and change. But, you know, if we continue to catapult that kind of energy of hate and I want him to die and da 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 da. And I know it's hard because of all of these crimes that we know about that are just so heinous and hard to even imagine and put into words. But at the bottom, underneath it all, everyone's God's children, and everyone deserves a chance of like reclaiming their heart. So it's
You're
really
killing me. Oh, keep going. Sorry. Yeah.
It's really just, it's really opening your heart so big and understanding that, you know, literally all of this is just, it's a movie. It's a big fucking movie. And you're like the movie star of your own movie, you know, and everybody else is an extra, or like, you know, the bad guy and the good guy and the lover and the this and the that, you know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah.
Like taking like, okay, I'm the director now. I want this. No, I'm not going to deal with that anymore. Next, you know, it's really becoming the producer and the director instead of being the extra in the background that gets kicked around and, you know, told what to do and told how to do it. It's just really taking the harness in your own reins and taking your power back from the external reality, which is really just here to help us remember who we are and to wake us up. Because it's not our identity, and that's collapsing really fucking fast right now. So if your identity is wrapped up in any of these infrastructures, institutions, 𝗦𝗍𝐴𝐿, community, school, GOV, you know, it's the ego death. We're all like going through it, so hold space for all of it somehow.
And Kendra, you blow my mind. So oh yeah, well, I'll put everything in the description, you guys. It's like, I knew this was going to be epic. And
I gave like a cliff notes too. Like there's so many like side stories that are like fun or like cool and you know, alien stuff. But yeah, I mean, whatever.
Yeah, well, you know, I think this is just the beginning of so much more to create together, and I just see so much igniting in your world that is going to impact humanity in such a profound way. You're such a blessing. I love you so much, Kendra. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love you too. Thanks for having me.
Of course, my goodness.
Big virtue.
All right. All right. Talk to you soon.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.